In order to test the Oculus Quest 2 link cable, I have an Oculus Quest on my dome and a link cable plugged into the front of my PC, and we have Assetto Corsa ready to do a full race on sim racing system. It's the ultimate test, and we're going to find out by the end of this video how well things go. So I have to say, already, I'm actually massively impressed with the Oculus Quest 2. £300, and basically very easy to set up. Even if you're just using it on its own, it's very easy to set up as a all-in-one VR headset. Absolutely fantastic. And then with the link cable, you just enable the software on your computer, click accept for enable link cable, and then click accept on the headset, and you've got effectively a PC VR headset. And the quality is surprisingly good. Basically, the quality is very similar to what you get from the Rift S, but into the distance is a little bit more blurry. It's definitely lacking the absolute sharpness that you get with the Rift S. But other than that, for all intents and purposes, it's a Rift S for £300, which is also its own standalone VR headset. And, you know, if you've never done driving simulators in VR, you guys are just missing out. I've been jumping in this already. I did a little bit of a test in single player before doing this multiplayer. And, oh man, guys, just being sat inside of the car is so much better than screens. I say it every time. Here we go, light's about to come off on the screen here. This is a proper race. This is for rated and everything. This is a proper test. Here we go. Go! So I qualified in 12th. Smoke in front. But everything's working as it should do. I'm not noticing any latency issues with the headset. Whoa, he's got issues. Bloody hell. Jesus. They're gone. Ah, there it is. Fantastic. Unfortunately, well, thanks for knocking me back around. Unfortunately, a VR headset won't make people in online races not drive like drunks. But yeah, so in terms of the input, I've not noticed any, like, delay on when I'm turning or moving my head and looking around. Bloody hell, mate. I'm not noticing any problems of it feeling unnatural with driving simulators. A good thing with driving simulators is that you notice latency very obviously when it comes to clicking the upshift button. As soon as I click it, the gear changes. It doesn't feel like there's a delay between that action. And then obviously the innate head tracking from the simulator all just makes sense. It feels like I'm sat in the car, and it really does feel. It feels like I'm playing VR with the Rift S. The contrast, the field of view, all is very, and the sort of general image character. Is all very similar to the Rift S. I think the screen doors may be a little bit less on the Quest 2 than it is on the Rift S, and the field of view is a tiny bit smaller on the Quest 2, but it is so negligible, it's just like, well, it's almost pointless mentioning it. The only actual appreciable difference is it looking slightly more blurred into the distance. Everything that's close to you, so like all the dash there, like the gear indicator, the RPMs, all this stuff is all totally clear, perfectly legible. And when I parked the car on Monza to sort of really see what the view distance was, and basically when it comes to being able to read the brake boards, the brake markers, you get 100 meters of really good clarity, and then it starts getting blurrier further into the distance. And I'm actually, this seems to be the case even when you're using the Quest not with the link cable on its own. It seems that maybe they set the focus a little bit closer than headsets like the Valve Index. Maybe it reduces screen door in some ways. Maybe it just makes things look a bit smoother. You don't need as much aliasing in the software, anti-aliasing in the software. But yeah, slightly blurred in the distance compared to the Rift S, but if outside of that, image clarity, actual smoothness, performance and everything all just seems very, very similar. Now, comfort-wise, I'm actually finding for driving sims, I actually find this Quest 2 surprisingly comfortable, you know. Like, it's really weird. The foam on the facial interface foam is a lot better than the facial interface foam on the Rift S. I'm going to keep using the Rift S as a comparison because I think a lot of people probably have it and it's probably the closest headset in price. But yeah, the facial foam weirdly also, again when in the driving simulator context, feels quite similar to that foam that you have on the inside of a race helmet. So you get a degree of additional immersion from that, purely accidental to sim racing. I was like, hang on, I've felt this feeling before. And it's, if you compare it to the Quest 1, the actual facial foam just feels a tiny bit better to me. Subtly, I don't know if it's the shape of it or if it's the way the strap operates. The foam seems to just work better on my face. Maybe I just haven't sweated enough into it yet. We've only had it for a day and a half, so maybe after a few gallons of sweat it starts changing its feel. But for now, the foam is really, really quite nice and surprisingly comfortable. I would say actually for the Quest 1, the comfort of it really put me off. It felt really front heavy, but for whatever reason, maybe the strap design with this Quest 2 and the facial foam and maybe some subtle changes in the shape of it, I found that it feels a bit more comfortable than the Quest 1. I really probably should have compared the visual clarity to the Quest 1, as for those of you wondering about that as well, so I'll do that now. I mean, I'll do a proper video review. This is more just race test, but you know, you're here, so I talk about it. Obviously, the contrast with the Quest 1 is better than the Quest 2 because it uses OLED screens, which emit their own light source as opposed to a backlight or a side LED light. So the contrast isn't as good with this headset as the Quest 1. So if you're playing horror games and things, you definitely. I was playing The Walking Dead. You definitely notice the Quest 2 is not as impactful for darks and stuff. But again, you know, with driving sims, pretty much all the driving sims that work well in VR, you know, you're normally driving in the day, so it's not something that's really bothered me. And you do notice with the Quest 1, when you move your head quickly, you do notice some smear due to the latency of the pixels. But with this headset, there's no smear at all, which is really quite nice with driving sims, because sometimes, you know, in a car, see this car in front of us with the black rail on it, when that contrasts with something bright and it's moving from side to side across the screen, you get smear on the Quest 1, whereas with this it's totally solid. No smear at all. So just really, I'm genuinely surprised. I mean, the thing is, with this headset, it's £300, guys. I mean, you do have to sign your soul to the devil with Facebook, obviously. So there is that. But as I have a Pimax, I have a Valve Index, I have a Rift S, I have the original Rift, the DK2, I've used them all. I'm a loser. I love VR. I have to say, you know, if you're like, someone's like, okay, I've not used VR yet. What should I start with? What should I try first? You'd have to say, if you don't mind Facebook, Quest 2. Because it works fine. It works fine. The link cable is bloody incredible. Like, it works fine. It could be better. It's not as good as the headsets that cost 3-4 times as much. But it worked. This is fine. You could use this for driver training. It's fine. And then you've not just got your headset for your PC games. Obviously, most people are buying this headset for actual, you know, standalone VR games, and not having the cable there. Again, this is I'm going to do another video on this, but we're talking here. Not having the cable there really does transform games like Racket NX, Onwards, the Walking Dead game. I don't enjoy the Walking Dead game, but you can see how it would really transform it. Anything where you want to just not have to think about a cable. Those of you that game in VR on a cable all the time with the PC headsets, you just learn how to deal with a cable. But how many times when you're playing Onwards and stuff, and you're like, I have to not rotate there, or I need to just use this flick rotate rather than naturally moving around. You sort of, when you use a cabled headset, you build a cable intuition, propriocableception, and you can just ignore all that with a Quest. And with the sports games especially, I get really annoyed when I exercise because I hate exercising. You don't want to be thinking about a cable, you want to be thinking about dying and breathing. So just playing all those sports games with a headset you can stick on, sweat in it, take it off, no PC, nothing. It's really good. But you know what isn't good? My performance in this race. We'll push. We'll keep going. So what I noticed though, even with this headset, this applies to all VR headsets, I'm going to say this just in case people are new to driving sims in VR. What I noticed is just how much smoother and delicate I drive. I mean, I noticed this with the first VR headsets I used, but I noticed it every time I jump in a VR headset. I'm like, oh, I'm driving better. I can see what the car's doing subtly. I'm not yanking the steering wheel around so much. You just, I think it's the field of view combined with 3D. You feel way more like you're doing a real car, where you just feel more planted and positionally aware and secure in what's happening. On a monitor, you kind of feel a bit, even with triple screens, you kind of feel a bit out of it. That's not to knock triple screens or ultra wides. I absolutely love them, and I do like tons of live streaming with a 35-inch ultra wide. It's great, and I can totally see why people would stick to triple screens, especially for like longer league races and stuff. I get it, but if you want to feel like you're sat in a car and you're going for the most immersive simulator experience, nothing beats VR. Even with this link cable, even with this £300 headset, and even with the slight blur into the distance, incredible. We've got a car moving up our right. Ow, he's now moving into the back of us. Well, thanks for the mid-corner bump draft there. I think he took himself out. What's cool as well, actually, so I'm assuming some people watching this might not be sim racers. You might not know this. So this is Assetto Corsa. I'm using Content Manager and some mods to it. And that's added stuff like active mirrors, and the graphics look absolutely superb. We've got like full sort of weather support in this now, day, night, seasonal track trees and stuff, and it's all just working. There's no reason why it shouldn't work, but I was thinking, he's put his wheel on the grass and almost been bagged. There he goes. There he goes. Goodbye, matey. I was thinking, I'm not expecting to get, this is not going to work as well because I'm using the link cable. There'll be some issues. It'll be too much of a hassle. But it really does feel fairly seamless. I've not had any like weird, it don't. Those of us that have been going through through the VR beta, if you started with the DK1, or even in mine and other people's cases like virtuality and stuff, many times VR just feels like it's all very beta and a bit weird. This Quest 2, even with the link cable, I have to say it's just a remarkably polished experience. But I will give it some negatives. We do the cable coming out of the front of the headset is a bit stupid. It would be nice if the cable goes somewhere else. I guess you could route it around if you wanted to. Maybe having a side... thank you. I mean, I'm now slow through the corner, but you'd have to keep driving into me. Maybe having... yeah, some kind of cable angle thing, or maybe you could get a USB 3 cable that's not as thick as the one I'm using. Maybe that would work, but I'm using the 10-foot Anchor USB 3 cable, which is known to work well as a link cable, and I have to say it's working perfectly fine. So the cable coming out the side's a bit silly. The onboard sound on the headset is passable. It's okay for sports games and stuff, but it's really not that great. So this is why I'm using my own PC headphones. To be honest, I think if you're using something like a Quest with a link cable, you're better off using your PC audio out to your own PC headphones rather than the headset cables. I do really like, though, for example, the cable on the headphones on the Valve Index. They're in a unit, they're all there. You know, it sounds amazing, it looks amazing. So yeah, the onboard sound on this is rubbish, but if you're using headphones anyway, or your PC to produce a sound, then that's obviously not a problem to you. Other negatives, not, I can't really, other than needing the Facebook account thing. Other than that, for 300 quid, guys, absolutely extraordinary. How are we doing here? 5 minutes left. I think it's absolutely extraordinary that we're at a point now where, you know, it's almost £300, maybe now $299 due to inflation is actually that golden consumer price point. It used to be sort of $270 would be the top end of that consumer price point where people will just get something and try it. You know, they're like, okay, it's a lot of money, but it looks good, so I'll put a punt on it. So $299, you know, and with the way everything's polished now, this is a great time to jump into VR. And as I say, you know, even if you're not, maybe you're a sim racer and you're like, oh, I kind of want to try VR, but I'm not sure. This would be a great thing to give it a bash with. And the advantage is you then have you know, you've got a separate VR headset, so you can do all the VR stuff. Yeah, it's an absolutely great time for VR. And what with everyone being stuck indoors, you're having to remote with everyone, VR headsets have weirdly come about at a good time. A bad time for everyone else, but a good time for VR. We've got to close this gap here, Jacob and Marco. Let's see what we can do. 3 minutes left. We've got to recover some places. I didn't get the best quality time, and I was punted at the start, so that's my excuse for being in 9th. But we are in the top split. I'm absolutely loving the sim racing system. You just get Assetto Corsa, Content Manager, and you sign up for sim racing system, and you've got absolutely amazing online racing for, I mean, what, in total it's going to cost you like 10 quid? And you're done. So, for those of you wondering what my system specs are, obviously with this game has been rendered on my PC, so you still need, if you're going to use a link cable, you know, the same sort of PC requirements are there to actually get a good performance out of the game. I mean, I'm using a 2080 Ti and a 3090, 3900, I always forget what it's called now. The current gen top AMD processor. To be honest, with the well, once people can actually get hold of them, the 3070 new NVIDIA cards are basically the same as the 2080 Ti, so, and they're not a ridiculous price anymore. I'd imagine a sort of semi-hardcore sim racer would be looking to get something like that, so yeah, absolutely bonkers. Come on. Now, I would definitely say, you know, if you're like the hardcore VR fan and you only play driving sims in VR and flight sims in VR, you know, and that's what you're massively into, and you've got a B system, then it's probably, you know, something like this Quest 2 with the link cable. You're probably better off getting something like the HP Reverb G2 or a Valve Index, or, you know, one of those very top-end VR headsets. You will get a wider field of view, you will get a sharper image, and you know, you have the audio built into it and everything. So don't get me wrong, I'm giving this Quest 2 a lot of praise, but it's mostly, a lot of it is from the sheer value for money. You are obviously still better off going with those dedicated VR headsets if you want the absolute premium visual quality and fidelity and field of view from VR. But from a base functionality aspect of VR, as I say, if you were doing driver training, you could use a Quest 2 with a link cable. It's good enough. Like, this gets you into VR and really lets you enjoy the bulk of what VR has to offer. For £300 and your soul. Signed to Mark Zuckerberg. Here we go. 32 seconds. I think. Oh, I might get one more lap here. If it's 30 seconds here, the leader's probably in front. He's missing the corners. I find it in VR driving, it's a lot easier to get into a rhythm as well. And you totally forget where you are. You forget that you're sat in a sim rig. When I'm playing on a monitor, I'm still I feel like I'm sat in my room on my sim rig all the time. I'm reminded, you can see the room around you. But VR, you're totally closed off. So if you've got a wife and maybe children, and you want to like blank them out, and you want your house to burn down around you, and not be aware of it until you start feeling getting a bit warm. VR's great. Final lap here. And actually, on that topic of warmth, what I have noticed as well is with the Quest 2, it doesn't seem to warm up as much as the Quest 1 does. It does get warmer though than a Valve Index and a Rift S. So if you're like now, this is just a 20-minute race, but I was doing like the box VR, it's got a new name now, but I was doing some longer game sessions yesterday, and also Beat Saber, and you do notice that it does get warm on your eyes. It does dry your eyes out a little bit. But I found the Quest 2 to be a little bit less warm and a little bit more comfortable in that regard than the Quest 1, but it's only by a small margin. I think what it is it takes longer for the Quest 2 to heat up, and eventually I believe it does get to similar temperatures to the Quest 1. It just takes longer for that to occur. And as I say, Rift S, Valve Index can get quite warm in some ways, but I find if you have a fan blown on you with the Valve Index and the Rift S, they seem to cool off a lot. Whereas I think these Quest headsets seem to, you can have a fan blown in your face, but they still seem to maintain the heat quite a lot. It doesn't seem to dissipate in the same way as it does on the non-Quest headsets. Final lap. Well, I think this is the final lap. 9th place, race over, but well, that's my first ever proper race using the Quest 2 and the link cable. And wow, that's it's brighter in my room than in the headset. That's weird. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Let's just quit out of this. So everything worked, nothing broke, and I would definitely say, I'll reiterate, this headset is, in my opinion, this is like you don't have a VR headset yet. You're sort of you're contemplating about getting a VR headset. this is what you need. This is what you need to try it. You need to get one of these to try. Absolute beaut. So yeah, hopefully you found this video interesting and useful, guys. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe and all that lot, bash the bell. We'll have some more VR content coming out soon. I'll be doing some other videos just talking, not driving, but just talking about the headsets. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.